You trying? All right. How are you? Good, how are you? Exhausted, good, good. I'm not complaining. It sounds good. Have a good summer?
Yes. Very good.
Take it in Kansas.
We've only gotten 2 in this year though. Because we usually done more than this by now, but everything's like everything, gone up in price and.
Just getting reservations at State Park.
I said, hey.
Hey
I
there.
know, it's so funny, I'm literally driving back over here, and my wife's like, I wanna go camping, I'm like, well, look around, what's available? She's like, nothing. No, oh, we don't have.
Right. So I'm
That's
going
good.
Yeah, we're heading down Interlochen for the 4th. We tried to get in here, no State Park.
Yeah. I love the Interlochen State Park, we actually stayed, because we left for the concert. Right?
Yeah, it's
Their venue was awesome, and,
so easy.
oh my gosh, like one time ever in my life that I drive there to go to a concert and decide to come back. I would never do that again.
It's about 20 minutes at best.
Well, it's like 2 hours just to get out.
Yep.
It's, I mean, even with the have people directed, it still took forever to get out of there. I was like, you camp over there, you get done, you walk across the street. I was like, I'd rather get up at 4 in the morning and drive back so I can go to work at 2 or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'd never make that mistake. But that is an awesome concert venue. Yeah, and we're going to see Lindsey Sterling there on 13th or something like that.
Now, how are you set up in terms of each of us having our own little picture?
Well, the cameras are that sophisticated and it should, and whoever's talking. But
God, you're just starting to get way too techy on me.
Yeah.
hey, this is all Mr. Gaines. Devices.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Yeah. Kind of motion today. How are you?
You're saying.
Oh,
I'm gonna change my.
how was the traffic over in Shelby? Sucks.
None of them are right. Maybe my timing was just better, one of the two.
Hey, sometimes you're good and sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah.
In Mormon, I was going north or south.
I generally go for
Yeah,
worse.
that's the worst.
And
No.
Friday I had to, so
Oh,
it was a little frustrating because I had to perform and I waited 25 minutes to get across the bridge.
I'm glad I got the ferry back here. I get stuck on that end of town. I'll take the ferry. It's not. It's like.
If, to me, I feel like sometimes waiting too long on the ferry,
Right.
so I'll just drive all the way around.
Yeah, I waited, all right, I count the cars and it'll be the 4th Vulcan.
Right.
And then you drive through East Jordan. Because it's the same amount of time.
Generally,
Hello.
Okay, so the way the subdivision is coming tonight. So where do you want us to sit?
anywhere you want.
Anywhere? Okay,
You are welcome, yes.
thank you.
Is Matt meeting downtown?
Matt is said he's running late, so.
They're closed, Jones.
Yeah. And I. But I have everything.
The convertible downstairs, that could be yours. Oh, it's adorable.
Thank you.
I was next door to your house today. I said I was next door to your house today. I almost pulled into the wrong spot
Oh,
because I had to deliver a key to Nikki. I was
oh,
like.
yes, a lot of people get confused
Yes.
because mine is here and her driveway is out there.
Right here on the screen, so. Yes, that's awesome. Let's sit back in the back. That means I have to keep my legs crossed.
It was amazing when they built their garage,
Uh-huh.
how many people asked me why I didn't make my garage match my house.
It does look like it's behind your house.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I can understand that.
Question for you. We are good friends with Chip Buchanan, having been at that new place. Division. The configuration and how they're going to have it. We'll look at the water system. Is, I guess there was some. Yeah, you've got to look at it. Here versus.
I picked out their house. I know which one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got it. One.
It's a black. And then. Yeah. See, don't lay. We, you know, we didn't know she. We had set up. Like that.
This is.
And, you know, yeah. And then she had to be training in Georgia, so like, so Washington.
My question is, are they waiting?
I would like to marry up for that. Yes. And then. Yeah. And right.
And. Family.
Oh.
This is good. Yeah, but I Yeah.
And then.
Oh my goodness.
Right, right, but there's a, like. You just have to provide the insurance. Yes. Sales of alcohol is.
I've been to prison. But I went to something.
Yeah,
I actually. And.
Right, Sarah, then roll call, please.
Ken Ballman.
Here.
Larry Chu.
Here.
Skylar McDonald.
Here.
Nicole Vogel. Here. Tommy Cameron.
Here.
Aaron Place.
Here.
Scott Ross.
Here.
Monica Ross. Here. Carl Van Donen.
Here. All right, fantastic. We got everybody here. Let's move right on to consent agenda, approval of minutes from May 15th and April 17th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as they are.
Both.
Yes, both of the minutes.
I second. I've got a motion and a second. Have a roll call, Sarah?
Bowman.
Yes.
Shoot.
Abstain, was not present in April.
McNaughton.
Yes.
Mogul. Yes. Needhammer.
Aye.
Place.
Aye.
Ross.
I also abstained because I was not here. I had something to do.
Monica Ross.
I abstained because I wasn't using
Yes.
Carl Van Donen.
Aye. All right. Let's move on to hearing citizens present on non-agenda items. We're here for something new.
We're here for the new business number 7.
Yep, I know, we're gonna get to that. Not a problem. Reports of officers, boards, and standing committees. Scott? Nothing tonight. Nothing today, fantastic. Let's move on to unfinished business, which there's none. We're on to new business, the pre-application review of 1308, 1314.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, Emily Wellinger was not going to be able to make it tonight. She contacted me this afternoon, had some kind of family emergency, so she had to head downstairs. So we do have the plans that they submitted, and we do have a number of folks here, they may want to comment. Unfortunately, I can't give a whole lot of insight. This is a pre-application conference primarily meant for them to share ideas with planning commission and
So there's no idea about the plans to do that.
yes, so basically what this funny is, they have a couple different versions. One is kind of a designated use locations for, yes, events and that kind of thing. That's the one that's on your screen now. Indicated they may park food trucks or something like that, and then have that be the primary commercial activity, event center. In the back, there's some housing options. There's a hospital for seasonal workers, they call it, and then some single family units back in the back of the property. Now, this property has two different zoning Basically where that power line runs is the separation between those two districts. The back half of the real estate district, the front is regional, commercial, industrial. The other plan is, has more of a commercial aspect with, some commercial spaces that would be available for rent. And then some, multifamily housing, and then some single family units at the back, like a similar plan. So, they wanted to kind of talk about that and get some feedback, or unfortunately,
And this is just to rezone at this point.
no, at this point, it's a pre-application meeting to see
No. The pre-application was to talk about
this plan.
and it would have to be rezoned.
And to kind of work through what processes would have to be necessary on whatever plan they choose to do. Or they may change the plans and decide to do something else, like entirely based on past feedback. So this is just kind of an initial blush of here, this is what we're thinking, and we get some feedback.
Absolutely. All right, well, I'm gonna get right into opening it up to the public, comment. Please, we're gonna use the podium tonight. Please come up, state your name, your address, keep it to 5 minutes, and also make sure that it's on topic for this project or zoning in general. Just that way we can move through this meeting and make sure that everything is heard, everybody has it. Please address the questions to me, and I will talk about that with the rest of the board and get you answers. I won't necessarily get you answered, it will be a conversation, that's just how it works at the meeting. Okay? All right. So if you would like to, if you have a public comment, please come up and start along.
Okay. So we are from the Boyne subdivision. I was.
Can we have name and address?
Simple, 1120 North Drive. Okay, I know Aaron since he was. I have lived there 29 years. We were the first house in the subdivision. And, Boyne has changed dramatically since then, but this is like hitting us like a ton of bricks. We don't know why we weren't notified that any of this was going to happen. Mr. Wood found out on Facebook.
No,
We're like, what? Is that where?
no, I came in and saw the
Oh.
stake, I saw the staking. I spoke to Scott and we could talk.
Okay, there we
All
go.
right, so your
So-
question is why you were notified?
Oh, I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
That's question number 1. So we don't answer those, we just write.
I dig in all the questions.
Okay,
And then after I close public comment, then I will answer. all the
okay,
questions.
so question number 1 is why weren't we notified?
Mhm.
Question number 2, has there been any discussion on how this is going to affect traffic?
Okay.
The traffic right now in front of our subdivision is unbelievable now that Cuckoo has moved down the road. Great Lakes Energy their entrance is right across from our subdivision entrance. And it is terrible. I mean, you could sit there for 10 minutes trying to turn left. We've had accidents there. The Shell station, lots of accidents. The Shell station entrance is right there, the oil change. And I mean,
Sure.
it's truly a traffic nightmare right now. This would create a lot more problems with traffic. So that's another question about traffic. I know that our town is in desperate need of housing, but this is a lot in a very small space. Is the back half rural right now? Used to be a farm. Is it residential or agricultural? Rural?
I can find out for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There was something on one of the plans about moving the power line. We weren't sure how or what would happen with that. With the venue, will there be alcohol? We have a lot of kids that live in our neighborhood. That's a concern. We have a concern with light pollution, noise pollution, litter in general. We have a concern with construction because we already have Elmer's back behind digging the heck out of our hill, up Boyne Hills. And the storage units to that direction of that map. And it's a beautiful little neighborhood. We love it. We feel safe up there. We're comfortable up there. And this is just a huge development that we learned about last night. So, okay. I had lots of other questions. Oh, sewer and water was another question. Because once more houses got added to our subdivision, our water pressure declined greatly. And the water people had to put in a pump to pump up there so that we have adequate water pressure. So if they hooked into our sewer and water, I think that would be a problem. Then in this one right here, it shows possible entrance off of Boyne Summit, which cannot happen because that's private property between the road and the fence that Emily owns. The Lanes own that property, so pretty sure there will be no easement allowed there. Outdoor venues, I'm trying to think of what else is on my list. Oh, would this be short-term housing? Short-term rental? Would it be like a year-long lease? Who would manage it? Would it be a condominium association? Are people going to own these single-family units? Or the townhouses, because some of them are townhouses, not apartments, I believe. I personally have a lot of questions, and I know that there are many other people in the neighborhood that have a lot of questions too. But first and foremost, we are ticked off that we were not notified that any of this was going to happen.
Sure.
And we found out, like, truly, if Mr. Wood had not,
We, just to let you know, we found out on Thursday.
okay,
And this is I'm gonna answer this just out of space. This is a pre-application, which means there was no bearing on this. It was just so we had information about the project before they actually came in front of us for approval.
well, I drove by Emily's house on the way here, and she is not downstate, so I think she got wind that we were coming. To be honest. Okay,
She was
next.
still outside of her house.
Yep. Yep.
Your question for us.
Yes, we were questioning her ethical methods.
Right, we're just talking about something.
Okay, got it.
Is there any other public comment or that Sue kind of?
I didn't mean to hog it.
No, I just read your presentation.
Fantastic. Is there any other questions?
Is there other?
Oh, sure.
I'm Mike Wood at 1360. If you look at the map, my house is the one closest to the east side, where the two borders, the lot line matches. So from the looks of it, I would be staring about 30 feet from my deck at somebody's deck.
Sure.
I've lost all privacy. Because it looks like then they would take down all the trees between my property and that property. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. Those are clear. I had asked before, when a couple of years ago, I asked what the zoning was. And I don't remember who I spoke to, whether it was Scott or something else. Sure. They said it was residential, like large lot. I don't know what that meant, but that's what I was told. That doesn't look like a large lot. Past experience where I lived, subdivision, and put up apartments. Everybody needs apartments. And in there, what happened was that the walkways paths through both the subdivision and into the apartment complex, they're all blended together. And I'm not saying it would happen here, but it just happened in idea. There was graffiti on people's garage doors. We finally tracked it down to a few boys from the past. I'm not saying it would happen. It has happened, and I've been part of it. And if you're looking at that one thing, when I saw it was seasonal working housing. Those are people that don't have ties generally to the community. And that's the thing that intrigues this house. was the size of the community and the tie to the community. My only tie to the community is through my wife. Her grandfather was a pharmacist in 1926.
Did you have any other questions?
No, that, I was just wondering if, what the zoning truly is and clear cutting and way they was, all the trees, which might be about nothing.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a comment? Okay. Yes.
Hi again, Zach Samples, 1303, Boyne City Road, Housing North. I know you guys never have easy decisions, today's only one. I know this is a preliminary project, but I'm just here to bang the drum again, housing, we need it back, all price points everywhere, so. You know, saying that, guys, it also has to fit in with the community, so that's the tough part you guys have to deal with, I understand that, but at the same point, you know, the housing is truly a crisis. We have, we just got our most recent data set, and as that gets prettier, I'm gonna send it out to you guys, so you can all look at it, because it's a 600-page document of numbers right now. But I can tell you it's starting, so, I appreciate what you guys do, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Here's one comment that I forgot to put in.
Sure.
Why would you put residential, whether it's apartments or homes, right in an industrial or any industrial area?
Sure.
Hey, Rocky, North Drive. So I guess to piggyback off what last gentleman said, I'm looking at over 6 acres of real estate here with like 13 places to live. So the question is if housing is that important, why are there only 13 small houses? Why are we looking at parking lots? Why are we looking at a parking lot for food trucks? Why are we looking at an event center when clearly housing is the issue? And that's what we need.
Right.
We saw her 1116, right? So I just have a couple things I mean, Sue and Mr. Wood kind of touched on a lot of the flood traffic, house traffic, or the values. A big thing that I worry about was the privacy. Again, a lot of the foot traffic, people coming through the neighborhoods. One big thing that stuck out to me, on one of their plans was it says event center. It says proposed event center, but it literally says 35 more parking spaces. One of the big things that I've read a lot on articles about apartments, and one thing that you would need to make sure of, and it is events or yards or spaces for the people that are in these places. So there's, I mean, is it single families? I know that they say, you know, things can change. I mean, like, literally right off of Mr. Wood's back deck. So what are where is all of that in these plans? Again, there's lots of parking and we have a second plan here, which is it is the one you guys have up.
There were 2%, so.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I have the same one up with you guys. Again, at the end of our one entrance and exit to the estates, just touching base again on the traffic flow. Are they gonna be income based, or then are they gonna be like a purchase of, I don't know how you say that, are they going to be sold, or are they gonna be like a monthly or an income based? Something that sticks out in my mind is, I'm sure everybody has seen what I'm about to say, with the smoking and non-smoking Is there gonna be like there's so many feet you can sit on the sidewalk in your chair? That's, you know, a cause of concern for me. Utilities, again, are we gonna have an outage to move lines and such? That you said that they could potentially change plans. You know, obviously that would be something that would be further down the line, but that's kind of nerve wracking. Have the house values been researched at all, like how that's gonna affect not just our neighborhood, you know, the surrounding neighborhood or land crowding. Obviously, we're cramming 13 little houses into a, you know, tight spot that's a little bit overcrowded. Noise pollution, light pollution. And that's just a lot of the same things.
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jared Fleming, 116. So I have no questions, I just have concern to express. So I actually grew up in this neighborhood when I was, you know, younger and stuff. And a year ago, we bought the house over there. And we've grown great, you know, fond to a lot of our neighbors and stuff, and we have a 2-year-old daughter. So a lot of the concern is just the foot traffic and the privacy and the, you know, our neighborhood's nice and quiet and you feel comfortable with everyone and stuff, so I'm glad too that, Thursday you guys found out, because, you know, it's quick enough for us to be like, hey, these are our concerns and everything, so, thank you.
You're very welcome. Any questions or anything to add? Sure.
On that, 131, or sorry, can you say that? On that. I'm concerned with like what events, I know it doesn't say, these are our concerns, what kind of events would we have here? We have noise all around us right now. And that is a concern. And I know we've said this already, but the light, I mean, we have light all the time on the east side now. And when the rest of the storage units come in, it'll be even brighter there. If we have something on the west side, I mean, do we need our lights anymore? I don't know. It is concerning.
Shade, darkening, or shade.
Yeah. And when you say that things may change, okay, we have 13 units here right now. What happens when they say, okay, we want to put in apartment buildings? And now we have a pretty big community. My kids are young, we have younger kids in there, and all of a sudden, now they're walking through his yard and they're in our neighborhood because they're going to. I mean, it's just what would happen. They're gonna walk around our neighborhood and they're gonna be walking through yards. They're not gonna walk down to M75 South and then walk up around it. They're gonna walk through the neighborhood, through the yards. They're gonna walk through his yard and then walk down to the gas station and walk to the event center. It is concerning, the more people you put into a small area, the higher the crime, and it would definitely be a concern of mine because the crime would go up in that area, which is very good. Well, that's it. All right, thank you. Thank you.
So at this point, I'm going to close it with public comment. Oh, unless you-
Yeah, I just.
Before we start,
Yeah, we can't have 11.3 in Harvard.
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time? I was talking.
Amy Quinn. So I guess part of the, and of course, everything that we've all described is very real. But I do think that we are at least traffic survey so that we're informed of what the traffic impact will be. There's 16 homes where they're gonna add another 40 to the same 30 feet of frontage on the street. I also think that there should be some sort of a residential concentration impact study so that we understand what it looks like, what it feels like between us and them, which is a visual as well, like a visual impacts plan, so that we're not looking straight into any of these apartment buildings. Is there going to be foliage? Are there walls? What is the differentiator there that is going to separate us
Some
from
green
these?
space, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the only additional pieces that I would like to add. Yeah, thank you.
And one more thing. Is this, I mean, I'm really, so you're seeing that it's brought up in Ron. We don't have a sidewalk all the way to McDonald's. I'm just saying, this is not safe, and if you consider this, something has to be done about that sidewalk. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns? All right, well, I'm gonna close this to public comment, and I'm open it up to the board, and I'm gonna try and answer as many questions, or get answers to your questions if you can. I do want to state, because Emily's not here, there's some of the questions that we're gonna have to find out, but obviously we can find out, so the next time we have this meeting, we can definitely get some answers. I just want to make sure that you guys are all aware what we can and can't answer, just because we don't know. So, I'm sorry.
Well, just probably get informed about it.
Thank you, and I'll get that answer. Actually, I already wrote that down, because that was one of my questions. Right, all right. So, Scott, residents not informed about this possible construction, is it just mostly just because of timing, or we just have it?
Pre-application comments, there's no notification requirement for it, it's supposed to be an informal process, nothing can be approved, nothing can be denied, it's just a fact gathering, process for the planning commission and public. You're always welcome to get on the notice list. You can check, the Wood City website, see what's on the agenda, or we can contact you when a topic of interest comes up and let you know that was coming up. So I suggest to do that and we coordinate with our secretary of staff and stuff.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I know Sue came up first, is Sue a good person of contact for all of you?
Yes.
Yes.
He knows how to speak out.
Is there any way that we can make a special note that?
We can put on that contact list, and when it comes up on the agenda, if it comes up again, it's gonna be Emily's choice if she wants to come back. And then we'll notify her. And again, this is just a pre-application conference, so a lot of these questions raised are probably going to be raised by the planning commission as well. So, there's not a whole lot of detail behind these plans, so we don't. And that's the whole purpose of this process, is to get it out there and get these questions answered before they spend a lot of money developing a real plan that they may find out that.
And it's typically after this informal talk meeting, we would raise our concerns, we would just, if there wasn't members of the public to help us raise our concerns about things, then they take it back and they come back to us with an actual site plan. Concrete can't necessarily change. They're saying, this is the plan we want to go with. And then that's the plan that we go by and vote for zoning. So they can't change things after the fact without having to resubmit that. So the question about how many homes and all that versus having an apartment building versus this plan versus that plan, if they want to do it, they have to get it approved. They can't change the plan midway or anything like that. That's what we're doing.
Can I ask one thing that I just thought of when you said that? Do you take a field trip to check the site out? Okay.
Yes.
Because I think that when you see how small that, I mean,
Oh, I know, I've been
Yes.
all the way up there. I know exactly what you're talking about.
okay,
But, it would be a good idea for us to take the time to look at it as well.
yes.
We'd love to host you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just like, the first question was why you're not informed. Obviously, this is such an early process. We didn't know. We're just going through it as well. going forward, if we can get information from you guys to get on the list, then we can let you guys know when it's gonna come up again, to make sure that you're here, so that we have any new concerns that come up, or something that, for some reason, you don't get answered adequately, you guys can get the answers. That's the process to keep you guys in. Traffic discussion, would there be a traffic study? Could there be a traffic study on that? I know that's a pretty busy road.
It depends on what they submit ultimately,
Yeah.
because this plan could change a lot by the time they figure out what they want to do. But typically, if there's a change in zoning districts, which this plan as it is today, would probably require something like that. Yes. Because nothing in these districts allows for the multi-family aspect that they're showing. Then a traffic study can be required as part of that process. It's usually based on the number of trips that are anticipated, the change in use, and then planning commission can, order that, the review process.
Okay, I guess that gets back to, it's currently zoned two different things, because it's two separate properties. One of them was rural residential, which is large lot. And so with this, it would have to be rezoned, and they would have to get approval for it to be zoned something different than what it already is. Which is why if they were to try to build this plan in the current zoning, they would not be able to. That's not possible.
Portions of it.
What's that?
Portion.
You're absolutely right. The commercial part would,
Yeah, the regional commercial industrial portion, which is basically the north half of the properties. There's two pieces there, the one long one and the little homestead there. That's regional commercial industrial, and that allows a lot of different types of commercial activity by right. And basically it says all the uses allowed also in the general commercial district. So it kind of rolls into a lot of different uses that could go there. The individual houses, that's in that back portion there, that's the rural estate district. It's the largest lot in the district that's in the city, but it's 10,890 square feet, so it's basically 4 units per acre. There's probably about 3 acres there, so you're looking at 10, 12 houses that could go there right now without any review or approval. I think it's used by right. So that single family housing development is something they could do today. The retail or commercial portions of it that's shown in front, that is something they could do today if they wanted to submit. Those are uses by right, and if they meet all the required criteria for site plan review, which takes into, the noise pollution, screening, light pollution, all that stuff, that part of the site plan review process. Then they would get the plans approved. So really the only aspect here that you're looking at that's not allowed by the ordinances is that multi-family aspect. So they would require some kind of change to do that. And that'd be, up to the planning commission to recommend and the city commission to ultimately approve if they have what was to be changed.
So just to clarify that, Scott. So you're saying the 13 homes, proposed homes in the back are close, 10 to 12, they're at 13.
Right.
So you're saying the ones that would have to change, are you talking about proposed on one of the plans, the 22 proposed two-story townhomes?
The townhomes or the hostel things that they're talking about, those are multi-family kind of uses that would require that.
That would have to be a change in zoning or a change in what?
Well, either way, you could either change the ordinance to allow that use in that district, or you can change the zoning to a district that allows that use. So it's basically a legislative change one way or the other.
Will we have to necessarily combine the two parcels and do a single parcel before we change the zoning itself? Because again, we've got two separate parcels here that are owned by the same individuals. And I guess when I first reviewed this, is that we would be merging the two parcels into a single and then consider a zoning change.
There's no requirement to to combine those parcels, those to stand as individual parcels. And they're looked at as like a zoning tract, so they're all under common ownership and the uses would all coordinate, you know, but how they do that in the future, it's unknown, you know, there's questions about ownership of the units, and, we don't have the owners here to tell us what their concept is, so we really don't know.
Right, so,
Scott, question. In the hierarchy of density and intensity of use, is commercial industrial considered a more intensive use of property than multifamily residential? So multifamily residential be considered as zoning downward or zoning upward with a higher intensive? Or is it just different?
It's just different, you have different things that are characteristics of each. Like the industrial district, the regional commercial industrial district, you can have party stores, you can have bars, you can have lots of different commercial things through drive-throughs, those kinds of things. Even some light industrials will be allowed in that. As far as multifamily, you're looking at it more of a density thing, higher numbers of people on that land, so that has its own characteristics.
So, just because I did say that, so thank you for correcting me. So this plan is because they have 2 units, but if they were a single family back there, we have about 12 single family units, the way it's zoned currently.
Yeah, it would have to take into account, the road and other land that would eat that up, so, but as far as, the lot has to be 10,000 square feet isn't really very large.
Then what would be the setback required in the state district from home to property line?
Well, basically from that subdivision to that, property, that would probably be considered the rears if they, back up, and that would be a 30-foot setback from that.
Okay, so a 30-foot, and they're just showing a 12 in this case.
I think it should be 15.
15.
Yeah, they looked at, because I think they're looking at this as side yards.
Okay.
So the fifth, that's from proposal, both side yards has to be 30. So it's kind of a function of how they lay it out. We determine that.
Okay, so it would be a 30-foot setback instead of a 15-foot setback.
Could be.
Okay.
Just to clarify again, on one of the site plans is 8 proposed 2-story townhouses on the commercial lot. You're saying that is somewhat.
It's not allowed. That's not, the regional commercial industrial district doesn't have, housing options available. Remember, we had that discussion? And the commission decided not to move forward with any changes to allow that kind of thing. So that currently is not allowed.
Okay, thank you. This is city water and sewer.
Yeah, the water and sewer runs, right past the property on Boyne.
So the engineering would take care of whatever they do here and would not affect this the neighborhood.
Yeah, it'd have to be, reviewed by our water and sewer department and capacities and make sure that, there's adequate pressure and all that, and that's not what are the means to correct that, and make this part of the plan.
But water and sewer is also part of our site plan review to make sure it's adequate.
Yes.
Okay. There was a question about power line moving and if that would, if construction or anything like that would interrupt service. Unfortunately, without a final plan that they present with us, that's not something that we can actually, find out. But when we have something, we can find out. The venue of alcohol, that is also something that we can't find out until we know. But then with alcohol, stuff like that, the commercial and the way it's zoned right now, they could.
Yeah.
Okay. Lighting and noise, that's all looked at when we do a site plan review. So when they present a site plan, that is something that we go through and we look at, whether it fits our ordinance, whether it fits our zoning. if something, if they propose lighting that fits our ordinance, unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do. We can't not approve something that is within our own ordinance saying that they can do. But I do know with lighting, it has to be down lighting. There's a lot of things within there as to how much storage there can be in different zoned areas. So that's something that we would talk about, but like I said, if it fits, there's not a lot we can do because that is part of our ordinance. And those are the rules that we kind of guide by. Same thing with construction. We don't know how construction will impact your community if it goes forward and all that, because we don't know what's involved. But we can find that out. Sewer and water. Boyne Summit entry side.
Right, that was a possible connection they were looking at. They didn't talk to me about that, they just put it on the plan.
Okay.
Obviously, you know, I have issues with that connection, I don't think it's a wise move, but,
Amen.
you know, they have any appropriate easements from any property owner to do that.
Again, when we review it, that would definitely be something that,
That's a site plan aspect.
there's a site plan aspect of whether it can actually be done or work within. So that's a question that we would be asking during that, make sure that it fits. How is housing handled? The question was, if there was any association or things like that, that's also something that we don't know. And we would have to ask, but definitely something we can do. There's a lot of things, like, we can't not approve something if they want to do an HOA and we don't think that's a good idea. Or we don't know how it's gonna work if they want to do apartment buildings. There's not, zoning can't really enforce how things are run, but we can definitely ask questions, but it can't impact because, I mean, everything, we just can't, that's not part of the structure.
I have a
Yes.
question on that. Should they decide that these townhouses are rental units?
Yeah.
Is there anything within the approval process where we can say that one of the leaseholders has to work within a 30-mile radius of Boyne City or something like that?
No.
No.
We can also set a limit on our vacation rentals.
Well,
Well, it should.
what I'm looking at is a long-term rental.
Well, I mean, if they want to do short-term housing, they have to go through the application process. So that's one way around it. They would have to be approved before they could do short-term housing. So, I mean, that's the only solution.
It was just a question. I mean, I would of course like to see it where the units have to be rented to someone who is a resident of and has some ties to the community other than my vacation home.
Thank you.
Understand, that's valid, but also there's a lot of things.
There's nothing we can put into our approval that would allow us to say that.
Does it solve the problem of housing in Boyne State with short-term rental?
Well, yes, but.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, it's.
privacy issue mentioned multiple times. When we do a site plan review, that is something that we look at, how things are gonna be screened, how things are gonna impact the area around it. I would definitely thank you for bringing this up, because we would definitely be talking to them about saying, hey, how is this gonna impact you? How, to your, like, our surrounding properties, because that's definitely something to talk about. They might be able to come up with a creative solution, we don't know, because this is just preliminary. But obviously that would be something that we asked about, because nobody wants to, sometimes people, they don't want to interact. So, any questions about that, or, because it was mentioned a few times.
We have no idea as to if they're using any government money to. Because if they use government money, it's more likely to be year-round housing or.
Right, but for screening and privacy.
Right.
And how
Okay.
close and all that, that's our, or open space,
Mhm.
that's all stuff that, we would have to look at.
Exactly.
And discuss during the site plan review.
Mhm.
What is zone now, the answer to that. Why change the zoning? Got that. Number of units, obviously, number of units would be part of the site plan review, because we would actually have to look at something that's in concrete. So I don't know how many units, yes. Normally this is really, I don't know.
No, I know, I'm just, quick question, is there ever any consideration for a wildlife impact, because there is there is a big like deer herd and foxes, you know, there's a lot of wildlife in the area.
Right.
Is that what you said?
Normally,
And deer.
normally, within the site plan review, Scott, it's more about features. Like if there was a wild spring, or if there was, it's normally, those are the type of things that wetlands. Those are the type of things that we'll look at, not necessarily wildlife in the area. I'm just.
It's a lot of milkweed, Skylar. Stay in there.
Right.
A lot of milkweed in there.
So that would be something that we would talk to them about, but that's not necessarily something that we can change or stop. Yeah.
No, I just was curious if there was ever a consideration for the impacts to wildlife, like how do you handle that, where, you know, they just move on?
That's not something that I've ever talked to, being in the planning commission, but it's absolutely worth discussing, especially looking at stuff going forward.
Yeah.
So thank you. Adequate parking, we don't have a plan. But obviously, having a lot of parking also impacts the surrounding area and how it looks and how it could be screened off, or how heavy and noise and traffic. So that's definitely something that we talk about. But I don't know. If it's income based, again, that's something that we can ask, but at the same time, we can't deny someone because they're doing income based housing or not doing income based housing, because that's not part of zoning. We don't get to tell people how they're gonna run the property, which is good, a good thing. The people should be told what they can and can't do if it's within the right. Any other, okay? What kind of events? Again, that's not something that we know until we ask, but that would be something that would be thought about. But do keep in mind that if the event center goes up and they're doing a certain type of event, and then they sell it, because it's a use that they're allowed to use, and they sell it, and the other person decides to do something that's not within the same events, that it can possibly happen. That's not something that we can do. If the site hasn't changed, it doesn't come in front of us yet. When plans change, obviously, if plans do change, they still have to come back, do another site plan review. You guys would definitely, if you're on the list, would be told that we're having another meeting about it. And that would have to be approved again, for plans going forward. Things can't change midstream, they have to be through the process. Trespassing issue, there's not, I mean, obviously, yeah.
Department.
What's that?
Police department.
It would be a police department issue, but it would also depend on how they do screening, but again, that's not. It's a concern, it's just not something that I know how we could handle that for zoning wise. But it's definitely a concern that needs to be brought up. Traffic impact study, that would, that's something that we can ask for as part of the approval process. More information.
It's gonna be a traffic nightmare.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. A visual impact plan. I know a lot of times when we do, see a final plan, I've seen some where they actually show what it would look like from different properties. That's usually not necessary, but if they were here, it's something that we could ask them now and say, hey, when you submit it, we'd really like to see how it's gonna look in the other properties. So, if is it going to be another pre-application meeting?
It's, all will be in their court,
Okay.
whether they want to come back in July.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Since Emily wasn't able to be here tonight, is she gonna be able to get meeting minutes, or how is she gonna get?
This meeting is being recorded, and she can get the minutes just like. the other
Okay,
ones.
I'm just checking.
So visual impact plan, at least seeing how it's gonna look from different, the surrounding properties is something we can ask for. But it's not necessarily something we always go for, most of the time, that's not a concern. But this is a concern. Sidewalk possibility, and that it's extending the sidewalk to where they're at now and.
Like towards northern logistics, towards the downs.
Yeah. I know that part of safe, what was it, the
Safe routes to school.
safe routes to school was the route, redirected across the street?
Yeah.
Okay,
It goes down the corner and crosses.
It goes by the church.
yeah, it's like churches cross. Just share,
Good looking across.
just on another, not this, but just in general, Scott, can we take a look at what would be the feasibility of the city, having the sidewalks on that side of the road?
Well, that's a state trunk line,
Okay,
so MDOT controls what goes in there right away.
okay,
You know, we advocated for it previously, and, MDOT sometimes is good to work with, and sometimes they're not.
okay. Would there be a possibility to just talk, I mean, just send an email, communicate with your contact, is that?
Yeah, so if this plan, if a plan is submitted, MDOT would be involved in the review process, because this is on a state front line, they would need to get driveway permits, because they're talking about relocating driveways, and they would have to review all that, and that would be part of that discussion, you know.
Sure.
Pedestrian access down, the street.
Okay, all right. All right. How to inform you, which I hope I was good enough to explain how that works. All right, that was all of your questions that I had written down. Anyone else have any other specific questions that they have concerns with this? Yeah, Skylar.
So as far as notification stuff, I just have a question, like, you know, when we were doing road construction up there, where last we lived, they had, I don't know if that was the road crew that did it, but they had signs out there, we just come back next to the road, like, hey, this is gonna affect your area, we're gonna have a meeting on this month. Was that us, or was that a company?
That's us, and that's part of our public, what's that?
Is it part of the public comment, please?
Yeah.
It's more when there's a specific plan in place, something's gonna happen. So that's not the case here, this is.
But no, I mean, like,
Formal discussion.
If Emily or this group didn't want to do a pre-application and went right to presenting us something for site plan review, would they have been notified?
If they submitted this plan, yeah, there will be a requirement.
Yep.
As part of that, the 300-foot notice is required, and it's been, you know, past practice to put those signs out for any time you have a site plan review.
Yep.
So those things would be, and I always encourage people, if you're interested in the city activities, just monitor, you know, website and check out agendas, there's.
But in this case, because of the pre-application, there's nothing.
Yeah.
But we also get a lot of pre-applications that come in front of us and we talk about, and then there's nothing ever really comes of it as well. So if we were to put signs out every time there's a pre-application, it would, somebody would be driving around, if that makes sense. So this is nothing official yet. This was just trying to find out what requirements we were concerned we had, as a community, as a whole. Any other questions?
I don't think you answered the trespassing question quite well.
Okay.
I have a specific event and reason.
Absolutely. For trespassing issue, that is something that we would take to the applicant and say, what are you gonna do to deter this? But unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to say, hey, no, I mean, like, if anyone walks through anyone else's yard, it's a police issue. Unfortunately, I understand.
Somebody was living in my house for 6 weeks and we had 3 winters ago. I know my neighbors have picked up somebody odd walking up there.
Yeah.
Or a car.
Well, you don't have.
But,
No, I have.
I understand, but for zoning, there's not a lot we can do. I mean, how would we stop somebody? I mean, obviously it would be part of the discussion of how close things are and how it's lit.
Just deny us all reason.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. What, I mean, do you have a recommendation how to stop somebody from trespassing with your yard if they own the property next to you?
You don't put an apartment.
I don't know, but that's part of it.
So but in the state district
Allow.
allows housing
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, 30-foot setback. It's not,
But the people renting the apartments don't own the property.
but the apartments.
Okay, hold on, guys. Have close public comments.
And,
I know I'm giving you guys a lot of concessions, but in trying to be very accommodating, this is something that I don't know the best way to answer. And that's something that we're gonna have to find out if there's a way of resolving it. And that's through Scott, the city, police department, and then also ultimately looking at what's actually presented as a plan. If they presented us something that only had some stuff on the front property and nothing all the way back, then the trespass issue wouldn't come up because there's nothing back there. But we don't have a plan, so we don't know what they're asking for. If that's not efficient, I mean, if that's not enough, I totally understand. I would feel the same way too, but there's only so much we can do for zoning. But we can get more answers for you through the city. Okay? Any other questions? Larry.
I've got a question. In the commercial district, the subdivision butts right up next to a commercial district. So obviously it has not been developed for multiple years. And this is the first thing that, one of the few things that's actually pushing back to the border. Or this doesn't even come close to the border of the subdivision. This development down here, that would be the real estate district, is that correct? So it'd only be up to that line, which is commercial, has always been commercial, probably when you built your houses, it was commercial zone, is that correct?
No, because Farmer Felix owned all that. That was his farm.
Okay,
And the first thing you pointed out was Smithy Door.
That's right at the front yard.
I mean,
That's Rachel's front yard. Yeah,
okay, but it's zone,
yes,
okay,
but they bought it, so no one.
but it's zone.
Yes, yeah.
Alright, so if this was to be bought and developed as part of the commercial zoning, what kind of traffic do you think would be in there for industrial?
Depends on the use.
Depends on the use. So it could be more intensive than apartment buildings, or it could be less intensive than. That'd be good.
There are probably commercial uses that would generate more trips per day,
Yes.
but
It'd be
without
interesting to know
any,
today, people going in and out all day long.
without any real details, it's tough to, you know.
Right. Hypothetically.
We already have the oil change system.
There could be another.
Hypothetically, it could be developed into a density that could be greater than an apartment density.
Currently, yeah.
Currently, yes. Okay.
Do you want it next to your house?
You have a house next to a commercial district, that's,
Okay. Any other questions?
No, because right now it's next to a rural district, the rural area there. That's the biggest concern, right? Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
all right.
Scott, there's no action or anything for this because nothing really.
The whole point is to get feedback,
Yeah.
and I think Emily, is going to hear a lot of feedback. And then she'll make a choice if she wants to come back with the plan to get more comments, or we we'll see. So basically, it's her point.
All right, I'd like to say one more thing. This city does sorely need housing. You know, commercial district like the plan is trying to make, it could be developed even more density than apartments, or it could be less density. The fact that this is the first development that is going in that area, a less density of apartments or townhouses would be welcome to, but the major problem is the street that connects to it, is because it does allow, but with proper setback, it could be fine, it could be fine. What's even more discouraging is to see Elmer's digging out the hill, because as I look at it, it's not a safe slope back there.
It's already been.
That is really bad.
In fact,
But that's
That's in the
even
township.
almost even worse than that, because of potential slowing of soil over there, and, you know, at some point, somebody's got to look at what's the same angle proposed for that soil.
is that something that can happen? Literally, she's watching trees collapse on her backyard. You could hear her digging and the trees, see them falling today on her back hill.
Let's finish
Is it
this.
your property?
That's such a, I know.
Let's finish this and then I'll get you guys an answer on that.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right, but I guess my point is, there should be able to be a compromise with density of apartments, but I could see this being rezoned for a multi-family. Absolutely.
All right,
As opposed to a commercial use, which in my mind could be more intense.
sure. All right. All right, I'm gonna move on to staff report. Scott?
I don't know if you want to address it.
I do, I was gonna do that different order just because it seemed like a.
Okay,
spot.
Just a couple of items, tomorrow, maybe you're posting, St. Marie Maker Exchange, they'll be our guests for the day, and so we can see. City commissioners, some staff, walk around, and stuff, the people, see who they are, and, say hello and welcome to our super, neighbors. Michigan. The city commission appointed the study committee for the Pearl Street Historic District. They'll be meeting next Wednesday to begin the process to develop that report, which is then submitted to the planning commission for review. As you may recall, that is for the termination, whether the district should be dissolved. So that's they doing their work. And then we are still searching for assistant planner. You know, Bonnie left us in June, early June, and now I'm handling all of it for the time being. Hopefully we can find something quickly and get back up.
Okay. Now, there's been a couple very recent mergers in that position, is that correct?
The assistant planner?
Yeah.
There's Patrick for quite a while. Yeah, Patrick was here about 7 years, and then Bonnie was just this last year. She was about 14 months.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you.
All right, that's Scott. So, let's move on to the order. To address the issue about Elmer's, that's an issue just brought right to City Hall, is that correct? To talk about concern?
No, that's in Wilson Township. And that mine is a pre-existing non-conforming use, so the township has very little ability to do anything. And the safety regulations are probably longer, under the state motion. So there's concerns there, those are the process.
So who should they contact? Can you help them find who to contact?
Yeah,
Ocean.
yeah, Ocean may be a start, and I believe there's the mining division of the state that also does.
What about the EPA?
Yeah, they love that. Absolutely, he's got that.
So what you're saying is that it needs to be happen at the state.
State federal level, yeah, the township has very little control over that.
My comment, like I said, that angle
Yeah,
of sand produced, and beach sand nowhere even close to what is recommended by OSHA.
Right,
for
right.
excavation. So I did have to demo.
And if that mine was being permitted today, that would be the kind of requirement that would be in place.
Exactly.
Isn't that family housing going all the way back to?
Yep. Oh, yeah, it goes all the way back there, but you notice that there's a setback, big setback.
Yeah, but that's a hill,
Okay.
like I don't. The setbacks pretty close to the edge.
And how old is that picture?
I do want to state that the property lines over the photographs aren't always accurate, especially at which angle they were taken from above.
Right.
We found some issues where, I don't know, the streets weren't quite lining up with the sewage and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
we've seen that in our meetings, so, this just gets to the general.
I wasn't sure where the city of Boyne City ended and where Wilson Township started, because we were annexed in, when we moved there, we had just been annexed in to the city.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure,
The south boundary of the subdivision is the line.
that's the line, okay. And going all the way across to
Yeah, you can see,
Ball Park Road,
you kind of see the areas that the color graphics over.
so you can see them.
That's in the city,
Right,
and everything else is Jason Township.
yeah, okay.
Is that private property where your house is? All private, or is that?
Yeah, that's all part of that.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
On that topic, Mr. Chair, there's a current bill that is being pushed very heavily to basically, we will lose all local control of mining. Gravel is a mining, the gravel pit, and it's being pushed because if you can mine your gravel locally, it's going to cut down on the cost of road construction. However, that affects us very directly, the city of Boyne City, Wilson Township, Boyne City, because of that gravel pit. They could potentially have zero control. We would have zero input on how much of the gravel. They could go right up to the back door of the Lutheran church, and basically that hill would be gone. And then on off of them,
I mean, legally, we don't have any say when they're actually on someone else's property.
well,
Right now, yeah.
they all, we don't have any say as to setbacks and noise and like, all those regulations that we now have control over, we would lose that if the current bill is being passed. We've been encouraged to encourage that bill.
Yes, absolutely.
Does recycling of concrete come under mining?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's.
All right, guys, is there anything else? Is there anything new that's going on at the board?
Oh, I will not be attending July meeting, will be on vacation.
Oh, okay. Everybody else, I know July is a popular month, and we'll make sure we.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That's the definition.
Okay. I think everyone else is gonna be here.
I know.
Okay, fantastic. All right. At this point, I just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I have a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Jeff has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I see you guys back here, except for Larry.